What's going on, Ryan? You're a perfect person to have on this stream, man. So I'll just get cut to the chase here and get this started. So on the bench here, I have Reverb number 2, which is the exact same build as my original Reverb. Multicopter Builder 2207, 2450 motors, Bardwell flight controller, Crossfire, running all the latest, fastest stuff, except no Betaflight 3.3 on this one. But I did pick up, instead of my usual instead of the usual Speedix HV ESCs, since I'll be running only 4S on this one, I had to buy ESCs, so I decided to buy some Blheli 32 ESCs from Emacs, which I'm probably could get away with running 5S. These are the GS 30 amps. And a lot of the Blheli stuff is just kind of like, and I'm guilty as this as well, because I do have another set of 32s running Dshot 1200 on my 6-inch. But when I started messing around tuning this second reverb, I really wanted to dive into the Blheli 32 and Dshot 1200 and see what I could actually do to make it perform better and understand it. With simple stock settings, just loading them up and flashing the new firmware and switching to Dshot 1200, you immediately can feel the difference. I've flown long enough and built enough of these and invested enough time into flying that I can feel things like that now. I can feel how much faster CRSF protocol is compared to S-Bus, those type of things. So I really wanted to figure out how to get the best performance out of a 32-bit ESC, because the whole point of using a 32-bit ESC is that it's running at a way faster processor speed than our older ones. It's running newer chip hardware and all that kind of stuff. But when you go digging around, it's kind of like all you see really is a lot of old, outdated stuff in people's videos, including one that I posted my own that says, hey, Dshot 1200, it's great. But when you go into the interwebs looking for information on how to make it great or even better, this is right off of the Blheli 32's website. And they haven't updated anything on this website since June of 2017. And if you go on to the RC Groups thread about Blheli 32, all it is people talking about how to make your motors sing songs, which doesn't really help us a whole lot. So start diving into some things and trying to understand a few things, and I've been changing some settings around, and I've had some pretty interesting results. But I'm going to put all those videos out and testing and everything, but there's so much information to go over. I just wanted to make a video here about this stuff first, and if anybody wants to watch this stuff eventually, they can watch it. So thanks to anybody that is watching this now or in the future, and hopefully some of this stuff can help you out as well. So Oscar Liang did an overview, Joshua Bardwell has, everything else like that, just talking about what the difference is, where here the Blheli 32s using the BB1 or the BB2 chipsets now, pretty much everything is BB2, can run a 32-bit 48 megahertz signal. So the benefits, of course, is way more processing power, all the different stuff that a lot of us aren't using now that's available on like KISS ESCs, like current limiting and telemetry data, real-time current readouts, all that kind of stuff, which hasn't really morphed into Betaflight yet. I think it's going to be coming, but you know, there's not very many flight controllers out there that have, in the Betaflight world, that have individual telemetry pads, you know, for each ESC like the KISS stuff does. So you start diving into a lot of this stuff, and the first thing is to look at the Dshot 1200 protocol. And Dshot 1200 is, you know, we know all of the good stuff as far as like how it's more accurate and robust. There's nearly there's twice the resolution when it comes to throttle resolution. It's faster than one shot. It's twice as fast as Dshot 600, as you can see by their very own protocol here. And it's able to reject bad data at twice the rate as well. So you're less likely to get desyncs and everything else if everything is set up properly. That's the whole thing. And it goes into more of that as far as which protocol is the fastest and everything else. So you can obviously see here that Dshot 1200 is the fastest, and it can also provide the most throttle resolution. So we're using better hardware and better software in a nutshell. Now the important thing is to actually dive in to these parameters and start changing these things. And if we look at the Blheli 32 configurator here, almost everything is the same as your older configurator. There's some stuff that people care about, and there's some stuff that people do not care about. You know, we got your temperature protection, motor direction, all that kind of stuff, demag, beacons. But then we have different settings like motor timing, maximum acceleration, and PWM frequency. So I have been playing around a lot with these specific numbers here, trying to take advantage of stuff that the actual firmware can do. And if you go back even further and look here, the last person that did any really important videos, at least that are released here, were Blue Falcon, where JC was actually testing stuff back on nightly builds of 3.2 last summer, where he was testing current limiting and motor timing and maximum acceleration, and he used some pretty good references, and it was some pretty good data. And I've tested the same stuff, and everything that was working then works now. You can feel the difference in motor timing and maximum acceleration in the sticks. You feel it right off the bat. It's just not a problem. Am I not showing the screen? I wasn't showing the screen. Sorry. There we go. My bad. I need another monitor. Sorry, JB. Alright, so I'm going to click over here and make sure you guys can see this real quick. Should be able to see what's going on the screen here. Yep. Alright. A little bit of a delay here. So let me plug in the reverb here, and I'll show you what I have been messing around with and just kind of talk about the differences and the results. Plug a battery in. All right. So the main values that I have been playing with have been demag compensation, motor timing, acceleration, and the PWN frequency. Let's start with demag. Pretty much any motor these days that have a super tight air gap, that are super notchy, like these motors here, you're pretty much going to want to run a higher demag compensation. And it will tell you, if you look in the actual operation manual here, what demag compensation actually is. And it talks about a stutter on a throttle. If you look right here, a typical symptom is a stutter. And you know, I've been flying a lot of medium and long range type of stuff lately, so I haven't really been able to like hear my quad at distances. So, you know, when I do throttle punch outs and stuff, I have not been able to like hear the delay. But with the snow on the ground and everything, I have been playing around with this second reverb here that has the Blheli 32 stuff on it, and I noticed that when I would hit the throttle really hard to do a punch out, that it just kind of felt like everything, like something was just like kind of out of sync. Like it wasn't instantly translating to power. And this is the symptom that I was getting because my demag was turned to low, which is the stock setting. So once I set demag compensation to high, that just doesn't fix other things, you know, by itself. The other thing that really changes is the actual motor timing. Now, motor timing comes stock set dead in the middle at 16 degrees per second. And it goes from auto all the way to 31. Now, you can play with your numbers here, and typically for most motors, from you know what research that I've done and that I've actually experienced myself, somewhere between like 16 and like 22 is a good number. And it's kind of like a power at 1 versus an efficiency at 31. And we're talking very, very minute changes, but changes that you can actually kind of feel whenever you combine the motor timing with the demag, with the maximum acceleration, and then with your PWM frequency. So right now I have mine at 16. This is what I was actually flying with today to test everything out, but previously I had set this to auto. And if we look at the actual book here, and it talks about, oh, where's it at? Ah, here we go. There's motor timing. So if you look at this paragraph right here, this talks about how the stop and stutter in the motor timing, it can be correlated and affected by the demag compensation. So if you're running a low demag and a low motor timing, basically your power curve is going to be delayed slightly, but you're going to achieve maximum power as time increases as you apply throttle. If you at the cost of efficiency. But with a medium motor timing, which is the default at 16, and a high demag, then everything is kind of just neutral. Or you can set to auto, and I am going to basically set mine to auto because I think that using the hardware to figure all of this motor timing out is something that I think this and PWM frequency are the two most important things that I have learned in testing this, as far as giving me instant smooth response and also power. I mean, you really don't notice the loss whenever you're in auto. So what JC said a year ago, or back in July when he did that video, was talking about setting his to auto because he didn't feel a difference. And I'll show you in the videos, there's really, no difference at all. So if there's anybody talking about anything here. I'm trying to catch up. Nope, don't see anything. Go back to the manual. So the key here is that it does keep the timing as low as possible. So that means that it's going to give you as much power as it can, and it's also going to work things out where it's going to be as efficient as possible and not cause demag issues. Now, these motors are all brand new. They're right out of the box. They're really good, real notchy motors, great magnets on them and everything like that. So that's why it's saying, on well-behaved motors, timing can be low in the entire range, and thereby max power can be reduced. On not so well-behaved motors, timing is increased as needed, and thereby improve margins against sync loss. So if I just set these to autos, as my motors get warm or anything like that, as far as like if I'm running higher Ds, then this auto motor timing setting is going to take care of everything. So I am actually going to write this to all of them right now, because that is what I want after doing testing. So now let's look at, we got to kind of jump around here. Let's look at acceleration. So acceleration percentage will actually increase the amount of signal and power at at more than 10% per millisecond. So what it's doing is it is calculating how much extra acceleration to apply towards the command to give to the motor if it is detecting that there is about to be a desync. So of course you want maximum on there. You want it to be operating as fast as possible, as always. There really hasn't been any, I haven't noticed any change when I drop it around or change it, so I've just been leaving it at max, and max is the default, so I haven't had any problems with that. So we all know about you know, we don't have to calibrate our motors, even though there is a tab here that says throttle calibration enable. I still, for some reason, even though I don't think you have to, when I first load up Betaflight on a new build with these kind of ESCs, I actually run them up in multi-shot and do a throttle calibration, then switch it to Dshot 1200, come back in to Blheli, update everything, and then you can actually go in here and you can test your motors, but you need to do the throttle calibration actually in Betaflight. So I do the throttle calibration in Betaflight still, even though my Dshot commands are going to be between 1000 and 2000 and center is going to be at 1500 no matter what. So the most important change, though, that you can actually feel, see, and hear is going to be in the PWM frequency. And somebody brought this up in one of my live streams, probably, or commented in one of my videos. The default on this is 24 kilohertz, I believe. And that person told me to adjust mine up to 32K and see how things felt. And you can actually go up to 48K. And if we scroll down here, in the book, it really does, in their manual here, it really doesn't explain this very well as far as, you know, what it does. It just says the resolution is 248 steps for MCUs running at 48 megahertz for a PWM frequency of 24 kilohertz. So you can still run faster. I can still run at 32K or 24K and still get 248 steps of resolution. So default is 16, and at 24 you're getting what Blheli is expecting and wanting to deliver, which is 248. and then you can actually double that, so you can increase and double the speed. But from what I've noticed is that there is a tipping point as far as if you set this frequency too high, then your motors will start to chirp, like you have too high a D. You can actually hear like a chirping noise inside there. So as far as my testing goes on this rig and these motors, 32K is where I've been running it at, and that's what's been giving me the smoothest video and just the most reaction. And if I was on my other computer, I would play like some of the video for you guys and kind of show you. But you know how like this stuff like correlates over video. I hate it when like 90% of the stuff that we say now is, oh, you just have to like see it, or you just have to feel it, or you just have to hear it. But a lot of you guys, anybody who's watching this probably already understands that concept and knows what I'm talking about. Like when you talk about actual PID stuff, you know, we all know that it's kind of just about feeling now. That there's really not, unless you're tuning for smooth video, there's really not a whole lot that in the PIDs that you're just not tuning for feel. And if you're tuning for racing, then, you know, it's just a totally different thing, because you're not worried about the quality of your video or anything anyway. You're worried about just straight feel. So let's see here. Can you flash a Blheli 32 with the regular? No, you can't. That's one of the big problems, is that right now, still to this day, only the Blheli 32 suite is available on, I believe, just on PC. I don't even think I know it's not available on Mac. Let's see here real quick. Yep. And you can see that, like, yeah, I don't know if they obviously took some of them down, but this stuff is just so new. I don't even think they know exactly what's going on with it. I'm honestly not 100% sure how behind this stuff they are in development, especially with the way things have been going with all the stuff on Betaflight 3.3, where people were running multi-shot with Kalman filters, you know, and I tried that out and it ran pretty good, but I just didn't want to take any chances with my birds, so I went back to 3.2.4. But now RC1 for 3.3 is out, and they're using the Biquad FIR2, the Biquad 2 FIR filter. But I'm not putting RC1 on here yet, because I guess in RC2 they're actually gonna give you an easier way to find out the numbers that you need to type in. Instead of adding a Q and a R number, they're actually gonna put into the black box logger the actual frequency that you're going to have to enter in to the CLI, possibly, unless they put it into the GUI, that will set your low pass filter. And I believe they have it working with Dshot and everything now. So I don't know. So I don't know how much development they're actually, I don't know where all of these people like cross. Like, I don't know how many Blheli people actually are working with Betaflight people and everything like that. You know, I remember a couple months ago when I was having some issues when the CL Racing boards came out. You know, I remember talking on the Betaflight page with some people, and I think there was only like, you got to think about how many Betaflight developers are there out there. You would think there's like a ton of them, but there was only like, I think 2 or 3 people that even did testing and development for CRSF protocol. So, you know, how many people are actually testing this right now and are working on this? ZB, what are you talking about here? You're trying to figure out if you have a Blheli 32 ESC or not? Is that what's going on here? I'll wait and see if he responds. So, but yeah, I know it's kind of a generic like overview of all of this stuff. Here's your default settings: demag low, motor timing at 16 degrees right in the middle, maximum acceleration, and 24K. So if you do run some of these and you're running like a high powered like 4S rig for freestyle, like for racing, I've heard that motor timing is more critical, that you really don't want to be on auto, that you actually want to kind of like tune this value here to see where you end up at, because some higher kV motors just can't handle like the faster motor timing. I mean, this is really like getting down into like, you know, this isn't like finding your optimal P value here. This is like real deal tuning stuff here that these values run at. And the same thing with this centering frequency as well, because there's a point where you can get these motors running as smooth as possible, but again, if you go and if you're pushing them too far, you're going to get that chirping sound, the turkey call kind of sound. So the videos that I have coming out will show the differences between some of these settings. So you can kind of like hear and maybe see in the GoPro what each one of these is actually doing. And it's funny because, like, you know, I built this second reverb right here, you know, to be my backup. And you know how sometimes these things go. You know, here's the first one right here, and now this one here has became the backup because it's only running Dshot 600, and this has became the primary because that is just how much better it flies. And you know, I'm not you know, I'm definitely not going to sugarcoat it. Like, you know, I've been flying for a long time, but I don't do like crazy trippy freestyle stuff and power loop this and power loop that. I've always been into more flowy stuff. I fly out at our fields all the time, and I like to chase those guys in their big acro planes and get video of them and everything like that. But I've been flying that babyhawk-r. You know, if you look at my channel at all, and that babyhawk-r just makes you want to go just crazy. And when I go from flying today, like for example, I went from flying it to this, and like I just wanted to go like nuts to this with this, and I'm able to do things with this machine now that I have never been able to do with any of my other rigs before. I mean, the technology has just gotten just crazy sick. You know, it's awesome. You know, my 5.5 inch Proton here, you know, it's made for long range. It's tuned for long range and smooth video. It doesn't have those like really high stop and go PIDs like the Reverb does. And of course, my 6-inch, you know, Cougar frame. I mean, it's just a big cruising hog, so it doesn't have nowhere near the agility or the power that this Reverb has. And the Blheli 32s with all this Dshot stuff and changing around those values has really, really brought it to life. Yeah, Jesse, and see with racing, you know, from what I gather and from what I can see is that I honestly don't think it's going to be as good as an advantage for racing. I mean, you kind of got to go back to the race flight philosophy, man. Whether you love or hate race flight or not, like, you know, that Kalen's a smart dude, and there's a reason why, even when he came to Betaflight, that he started working stuff on multi-shot with 3.3, and people kind of kicked him to the side. I mean, there's a reason why, and that reason why is because of what you're saying. I mean, you don't have to worry about multi-shots desyncing on you. At least you shouldn't have to. I mean, if you wanted to take the time and work with that motor timing and demag and everything like that, then, you know, you might be able to pull something out. But the race flight GUI and the code and setting all those values and everything up for you automatically, I mean, I still think that's definitely the best way to go. I think a lot of this Betaflight stuff is tailored toward, I mean, is tailored to a freestyle. I know people race with Betaflight, but I think that they're definitely tailoring more towards, you know, this kind of stuff right here, which is fine for me because I'm not a big racer. But I mean, I don't know. It's here's my like 2 cents, Jesse. If you got to buy a couple new ESCs, I think it's worth buying if you have some extra time to play around with. Just because, you know, it doesn't lie. You know, the truth is that it is outputting the information and rejecting bad packets twice as fast as 600 was. So if you're not sold on Dshot 1200 because of the bad experience with Dshot 600, then that's definitely something to think about. But really, this is all, you know, again, I kind of come back to the race flight stuff. This is all kind of fuzzy math because, you know, this is all like analog stuff. I mean, yeah, it's digital protocol, but, you know, it's ran over a wire. And it's like Preston. It's like Preston said, you know, their next version, their newer versions of ESCs and boards that they're coming out with, their next gen stuff, if they make it that far, which I hope they do, because, you know, again, love them or hate them, they are pushing people to make better shit. I mean, you know, revolts are tough. I mean, when they take Betaflight and they flash it on a revolt, I mean, that's telling you something. You know, it is the best flight controller that is out there, I think. So, yeah, fuzzy math. Remember that? George Bush, GW? That was like great. That was classic stuff right there. But like he says, until we get rid of these wires here, and am I pointing at the bench now? Yeah, there we go. Until we get rid of these wires here, and he was talking about, if you listen to the podcast, it was the live stream that they had when the last one with him and Schizo and Willie, when they were talking about their next generation of products they were coming about with. We're talking about a true, you know, no more STM chips, they're gone. We're talking about a true bus connection between the ESC and the flight controller. I mean, we're talking like Spaceball stuff here, man, like ludicrous speed. And that is like the next level, and that's like the next step. You know, you see the KISS people raving about Dshot 2400, which you would think really is just twice as fast as Dshot 1200, but it's still a chopped up digital signal sent in an analog way. So it's not the fastest way. It's not true. It's not a true digital signal. Flashing these are just like flashing any of the older stuff. If you've never used the old configurator before, let me switch to the view here. So you just make sure that you're not connected to Betaflight or anything. You connect up, you power up, check your ESCs. It's going to tell you what version you're on and everything like that. You just start with ESC number 1. You click on Flash Blheli, and it is going to go out and look for the newest version, which is 32.3, which is what I am on right now. So if I was on a different version, I would just select 32.3 and I would hit OK, and then it would just basically walk me through the flashing of each ESC. And then when you're done, you just select your ESCs here, change your values, click on write setup, and it's going to write all your parameters to all 4 of them at the same time. Click on check again, and it's going to tell you that everything is all on the same revision, which one's the master, which ones are reversed, and all that kind of stuff. So pretty simple process as far as how to flash. I actually kind of prefer this configurator still to the app, because not everything is built into the app. I don't know why it's not, but not everything's built into the app. Take off those props. Yeah, I know. I'm a bad guy. I'd like to say I've done this enough times that I know my shit and I know when it's going to hurt me or not, but that's the kind of cockiness that ends up making you lose a finger, I guess. So, But, yep, if I'm going to be a teacher, you're right. I got to take off my props and show exactly what's going on. So you can't get your ESCs to flash, Salty, huh? Can you read them in the configurator? Does it pick them up? Get hooked up to that configurator and see what version you have. These came with the latest version on there, which, like I said, development's been lagging on this stuff. The configurator hasn't been updated since July 4th. I mean, not July 4th, January 4th. So it just wouldn't go through the configurator. There is, and I know this is probably outdated too. I mean, all of this stuff is outdated. Like, they're trying to push this technology, but look at this. I mean, June 16th. And I mean, there is nothing anywhere else. I have been all over the place looking for stuff. And like I said, all there is out there is people making freaking stupid music for these things. I mean, who cares? I don't care about the Game of Thrones soundtrack and all that stuff. Are you using Betaflight 3.2 or greater? Oh, thanks for the tip, man. I appreciate that. Lumineer Silk 32s. I know what... Hey, I bet I know what the deal is. Are you using the newest version? Alright, are you using the newest version of the configurator? Are you using the 10.1? Because they did update that in January. Like the standalone app. Because I don't think that Betaflight, I don't even think it works anymore on here, does it? Yeah, see, the Chrome version doesn't work anymore, so 10.1 is the newest one, which is what I have installed separately on a standalone app. Oh, shit. Yeah, if you go to just if you go to just let me get you on the screen here, screen cap. If you go to the GitHub right here, like there's all your configurators that you have to use now for Betaflight. So there's 10.1 right there, which I have it on my desktop. It was released, let's see, I downloaded it on the 16th of January is when the new Betaflight configurator came out. And then the Blheli configurator I downloaded on the 12th, the Blheli Suite 32. So make sure you are, I mean, I'm sure you know what you're doing, but make sure you are downloading the Blheli 32 configurator and not just the regular Blheli configurator. Yeah, I've never been. I was when I first upgraded, when I first downloaded the standalone Betaflight configurator and 10.1 came out, it prompted me. I know at the beginning they said that they didn't have it built into there, but it did prompt me to download 10.1. So it wouldn't let me open anything else up. It gave me the same error message that you just saw. But there hasn't been any updates, there hasn't been any updates to the configurator for Blheli 32. It's all the same, which it came out on let's see. There's a beta that was released on the 24th. So I'm running 32.302, and then there's a beta of 32.304. So it hasn't prompted me to download that beta, which I'm not going to do that yet. Everything's running good, so I'm not going to do that. Hey ZB, thanks for that, man. Appreciate it. I gotta go to your channel and give you a sub and be sub number 2. Same thing with Salty. You're number 2 too. Man, I feel like Joshua Bardwell here. Well, hey man, I really appreciate it. You and Salty are the first 2 people that have ever tipped me anything on YouTube. It's the first non-ad monetization money that I have ever made, and I can promise you that it will go right back to the channel. All I do with this is just try to make enough money to pay for my Adobe every month, which is like $54 a month. So, and I usually end up making around $65 a month in YouTube revenue, even though it's been going down because my FPV stuff isn't as popular as all the DJI stuff, and a lot of my DJI stuff is becoming outdated because I had a heck of a run with like the Mavic. But I'm thinking that most of my new subscribers that I'm getting have been like in the FPV stuff because I've been doing this longer than ever. But you know, it's hard. It's hard to like you know, get an audience with the stuff because there's so many people. But I watch like some of the bigger guys, you know, streams and stuff, and it's just, you know, if you really want questions and stuff answered, it's just hard to get like the answers from those guys, I think, these days now, because they're just too big, you know, even though they're doing it full time and everything, you know, they have these live streams constantly. And I mean, let's face it, you know, they're big money makers. I mean, you just see the people just donating money like crazy, you know, during these live streams so they can try to get to the top of the super chat so they can get their question answered. Yeah, I use Adobe Premiere to like edit my videos with. I originally got into it for Lightroom for my photos with my Mavic and stuff and Phantoms. So, but then I started using it because I originally used like iMovie for the videos, but the actual, you know, flight footage and all the YouTube videos that I cut up now and stuff like that, I use Premiere for all that. So, except for these live streams. The live streams are just easy because all you got to do is just have the webcam going and hit play. And it looks good and it sounds good and everything like that. But sometimes it's just better to make a video so that way you don't go off on like different tangents and everything like that. And some people don't like watching live streams because they just don't have the patience for it. And since there's no like, I don't go back in and put in like time references or time frames or anything. So I've been trying to make them more like focused just on the actual topic and kind of cut them off and make them a little bit shorter. But hey, it's Friday night, so we can talk about anything. Are you talking about how I have this live stream kind of set up and running right here? Is that how what you're saying? Yeah, I donate too. I mean, I had a Patreon account set up to donate for people to donate to me, but nobody has done anything. Nobody ever did anything like that, and I really didn't like promote it or anything because it's like, you know, I've got 3,200 subscribers, a pretty decent sized audience and stuff, and it's always kind of like, well, when do you put yourself out there and like start asking for money and stuff? And it's like, well, I really don't like care to honestly to do it because I have no dreams or aspirations that this will get any bigger than it does. I mean, I'm growing at like maybe 70 to 100 subscribers a month, but you know, there's only so much money that I have to put into this stuff. I mean, I've put thousands into this over the past 4, 5, 6 years. And I'm trying to buy into that whole ethics Mr. Steele philosophy, which is take what you got and get the most out of it and not get bought into the hype. So, I'm done. That's why, I found one motor. I love it. Bardwell flight controller. Love it. Putting it in all of them. I'm not like, I'm trying to keep everything the same. I am ashamed that I've had my Proton here, which is probably my favorite quad. I've had my Proton here only for a couple months, and you can see it's missing a camera because I originally had a Cadix micro in it, took that out, put a Fox-R Predator into it because I just loved the image, and I took the Fox-R Predator out and put that into the Babyhawk, and I ordered the Eagle Pro Micro because I love the Eagle cameras, and I have the big ones in my Reverbs and my 6-inch Canasti. Yeah, that's kind of why I like doing the live streams too, man. I just kind of, I'm sitting here working on stuff and tinkering on stuff and building things, and it's just fun just to like talk and interact with people while you're doing it. I originally started this channel out building models. I build like scale models and stuff and paint them up and everything. Like, so like right there. So that's my like Colonial Viper, Battlestar Galactica. We used to have like model hangouts where we would like build and paint and stuff like that together. Here's my aerial hunter killer from Terminator 2, with lights. Got like the fiber optic lights going on up here and the floodlights, and then built like, little flickering fires and bent pipes and stuff like that in there. All airbrushed and weathered and everything like that. That's originally how the channel started, was building models. Which I still do in my spare time. Right now I'm working on this Bandai Millennium Falcon. So I'm kind of stoked on the Solo movie getting ready to come out. And if you go back and watch some of my videos, you'll see the box for this thing literally sitting opened up over my shoulder for like a year straight. I mean, I bought this when The Force Awakens came out, and I never even did anything to it. So over the past couple weeks, and since it's bad out, I've been working on it. Oh, and heck, and one more. If you're a Star Trek fan, my like TOS. Oh, all lit up and stuff like that. So you can see how dusty it is. God, that's embarrassing. But yeah, there is a lot of guys that build. There's a huge model building audience, man. I got into YouTube and was inspired to make YouTube videos by model builders. Boyd Compton, his name is, Trekworks. If you ever have a few minutes to check out, like if you're a Star Trek fan, and check out some of the Star Trek models that he's made, wow. I mean, he basically was able to quit his job and he builds models full time. You know, and the dude's just a machine. Alright, let's see. Where are we at? A Helix. Oh, probably because you have the... They make a custom PDB and flight controller for the Helix, don't they? I am on that I am on that channel. Where is it at? I was actually just looking at this the other day. That looks pretty cool right there. That earbud. I like that. Alright, yeah, I think it was on X-Frames. Yep, it was on X-Frames channel where he was talking about the Helix. So they call that, is that called the Mercury? The Mercury stack? Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So that's it right there, huh? Is that beta flight, or is that, yeah, that is beta flight. So this is the one that you're running right here, huh? Well, I tell you what, it's a good frame. Thomas Bitmata would say so. I mean, he only wins every race with it. That's a pretty sweet looking build too when it's all done. I love how it has like the guards and everything underneath there for the ESCs and stuff. Impulse makes some great stuff, man. I've never owned a real Impulse frame, never owned an Alien. I always bought like some cheaper quads from like Ready Made RC and stuff, and then I actually built the good old Martian, which I have taken which still is old, but it's got like steel motors and stuff on it, but it's kind of out of service right now. It's got Betaflight F3, but I stole the camera out of it for reverb number 2, so it'll probably be all spare parts and stuff like that, but I do have another reverb frame here. So, but this is just all going to be spares and backups, because I am not building a third one. I think that's just kind of a waste of money and resources. I only got that one because my buddy bought one and decided that he didn't want to build it, so he sold it to me at a good deal. Well, I think we'll go ahead and cut this episode then. Keep an eye out for the videos. I think you guys will get a lot more out of seeing what actually the changes did. You should be able to see some of them in the GoPro video. I've definitely made specific maneuvers to show the changes. So I know it's like hard to convey a lot of that information, but you can definitely see the smoothness in the video, especially when I change the actual frequency, because that smoothed the motors out really good, and you could just see the tiniest oscillations that I was getting in my video just go away. And that's the other big thing about the Blheli 32s, is that the only difference, I told you the only difference between this one and the other reverb is the ESCs and Dshot 1200. So you would think, and they weigh the same and everything, so you would think the tune would be exactly the same, but it's not. Like, you are able to push the P gains up on these Dshot 1200 and Blheli 32 ESCs a lot more. Like, I'm talking 10 to 12 points higher. My P gains on this one are about 10 to 12 points higher on both axes versus my other reverb that is running Dshot 600. And changing that frequency was able to get rid of the tiny mid throttle oscillations, and so I'm able to get an even better flying ship because of that. So that's like a huge advantage when it comes to what these can actually do. I mean, that's like kind of the most important thing that I forgot to even talk about. But I'll go over all that and in the videos. And you guys have anything that you'd like to see, any type of work, any type of flashing or software or anything like that, just let me know. Shoot me a PM or send me some or put some comments or something down there, and I'll do what I can to help you guys out. So that's going to do it. I'm going to stop the stream. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace, and go burn some packs.